Welcome back to the Trotter Chatter podcast, and we are joined here by Steve from the Orient Outlook podcast. How you doing?
Yeah, all good, Ryan. Thanks. Thanks for having the On Outlook podcast on your own fantastic podcast. Pleasure to be joining you looking ahead to Saturday's game.
Yes, is it as cold down there as it is up here? I think we're on -5 up here.
I think we're in the early minuses. I don't think we're quite at a -5 level yet, but we're slowly getting there, slowly trying to catch you up.
Yeah, looking forward to thaw the car out in the morning. So, the Orient Outlook podcast then. So, sort of where did you come about? How long you been going? How was it sort of born?
This is our 10th year, 2024.
Wow.
It was born in the playoff season where we were in League One and got to the playoff final. And at the time, there were only two club fanzines, and me and my co-host were getting more and more into podcasts. And we had an idea about doing a podcast, but nothing ever happened at Orient. So we were like, how are we going to fill a podcast? And unbeknownst to us, we lost the playoff final in heartbreaking circumstances. And our club got taken over by an Italian, which was an absolute disaster. But at the start of that season, there's about three other Orient podcasts started. And I said to Paul, if we're going to do one, we need to do it now. Otherwise, we're going to get left behind. And that was how the Outlook started. It started off with the idea of doing like a half-hour fortnightly podcast, and very quickly we were doing hour-long podcasts every weekend. It's kind of just grown over the last 10 years from being just the two of us with no audience to a huge podcast with a massive social following with lots of listens and being, I guess, or having a fairly good relationship with the club. So it's gone beyond our wildest dreams to have the manager on and players on and the chairman on and the CEO on and directors on. I mean, we've literally seen all in the 10 years, we've seen two relegations, we've seen two promotions, we've seen two league winning campaigns, and so much drama over the last 10 years. We've obviously had Justin pass away. It's been a crazy 10 years to support Leyton Orient. So much has happened, but as we sit here now, I think we are as good or as healthy as what I ever remember Leyton Orient being in terms of under the ownership, under the management, and in terms of looking ahead to the future. I think the future looks really bright for not only our club but the podcast too.
It's great to hear. It's great that we're quite young. We're only on our year two, but it's sort of good to see where it could go. I like to think we've
Yeah.
been all right so far. Yeah, it's been pretty good couple of years for Leyton Orient, has it? You sort of you made light work of League Two last season. What's it like being an Orient fan at the moment?
I'd say it's quite optimistic. I mean, like you said, we made quite easy work of League Two. That was really like an Orient-esque campaign. We went top after three games, and we never really looked back. We were efficient. We were really good. We had some amazing individuals for League Two. So we had Paul Smith, who's now gone on to play for QPR, who scored some unbelievable
Yeah,
goals at that
great
level.
player. Great player.
Really, really good. Really gutted to lose in the summer, but we can't compete with a championship club. And he went back to his ex club. And we had Lawrence Vigouroux as well, who for 3.5 years was probably the best goalkeeper I've ever seen in between the sticks at Orient. And unsurprisingly, we all knew he was going to get a big move when he was out of contract. I don't think anyone expected him to go to Burnley and end up in the Premier League, and he has. Unfortunately, he's not got anywhere near that starting lineup, and I don't think he will. But he was outstanding last season. So over the summer, we lost those two and brought in a bit of new blood. So it's taken the team a while to gel, and we still haven't seen the best of Orient, I think, this season, and we won't because we've been unable to play our strongest 11 due to injuries, and one of our first one of the first names on the team sheet, Jordan Graham, was still injured. So this season, we haven't really been able to see the strongest or best 11. But what we have seen over the last couple of weeks, and especially since the game that we played you, is players returning to full fitness and exciting players who hadn't been available for a lot of the season starting to play for an hour, 70 minutes, and make a big impact on the pitch, which is what happened on Saturday away to Portsmouth, that I'm sure we'll cover. But at the moment, 10th in League One, without really playing superbly well all season, which I think if you look at it from a half full perspective, you go, that's pretty good for a newly promoted team in League One. But if you're half empty, you go, we've dropped some points we really should have taken. Like we lost away to Fleetwood, we've conceded some last minute equalisers. And have we not conceded those points, we'd probably almost be challenging around the playoff places. But from the podcast perspective, we're always very optimistic. We've got a great manager We've got some really good young players coming through, and we've got a board who are, I would say, are uh, very good and hopeful of moving the club forward, but also at the same time very sensible with it. So they're not going to do anything silly, but at the same time, they had got ambition to take Orient to the next level. So it's a really exciting time to be an Orient fan.
Yeah, it's nice to hear. It's nice to hear a positive story, really, with football clubs at the
Yeah.
minute, with the likes of Reading and obviously previously our rivals Wigan, and it's really good to see. So obviously, we looked like we were going to absolutely trench you at the Reebok just before Christmas, and then you had to sort of make us a little bit worried, make it a little bit difficult. What did you think of the reverse leg?
It was one of those where we went into it fairly confidently. We were just beating Cheltenham away, and we were going to Bolton with no pressure. It was like a no pressure game. Everyone expected us to get turned over, and I think you guys were coming off the back of two defeats, if I remember rightly. And we were going into it quite optimistic, and then we saw the starting lineup, and the midfield looked a little bit light. There was no real kind of enforcer in the midfield, and a few eyebrows were raised. But we were like, okay, well, we didn't have a midweek game. We normally get our tactics and starting lineup spot on, but as you know, the first 10 minutes, we just got completely overwhelmed in the situation and found ourselves 3-0 down. But I actually think that that game could be the pivotal turning point in the season, because since those first 9 minutes or 8.5 or whatever it was, since going 3-0 down, we haven't conceded a goal since. We've played with a freedom since then that we haven't played with before. I think it's fair to say in the second half we had a lot more in the games. Obviously scored 2 goals. We're unlucky actually not to get an equaliser in injury time where we had a header cleared off the line. After that game, we win and beat Charlton 1-0, kept a clean sheet. We then had a ball draw at home to Wickham, which was 0-0. We went to Cambridge on New Year's Day and signed them over fairly easily, 2-0. And then went to Portsmouth at the weekend and beat them 3-0. Again, really, really easily. We didn't have to get out of second gear. Now, some Portsmouth fans, I guess, will say, well, probably didn't play well, but I thought we were exceptional, especially in the first half. We got our rhythm going early. We played the right balls at the right time. Defense was composed. So I think that game at the Reebok it was a real pivotal point. Something happened when we went 3-0 down where the fear went away and the players have since then played with a freedom uh, that they've carried on. And yeah, we kept 4 clean sheets in a row and haven't conceded a goal since that third one went in Bolton. So bit of a strange game. At 3-0 down, you're just sitting there thinking, well, I hope this doesn't turn into a 7 or 8-0. And then an hour and a bit later, you're thinking we actually were quite lucky not to get a point in the end. So bit of a strange game, but that's Orient for you.
Yeah,
So
it was very bizarre. And the thing with Bolton as well, we are very capable of beating teams heavily. We've done it this season. I think we must have made Portsmouth look really good because obviously the wheel seems to have fallen off, and I think Bolton fans are pretty pleased with the likes of yourselves and Cheltenham doing us a favour and basically
yeah.
putting us in prime position to get the top of the league. So what are your opinions on Bolton as a side then?
Well, I think Bolton have obviously we associate Bolton with the Premier League, right? So we all grew up and Bolton were in the Premier League. I think, it was sad to see, I guess, the kind of demise of Bolton through the divisions over the last couple of years. And then obviously we played you recently in League Two. And I remember beating Bolton during COVID, and it was quite a comprehensive win, like a 4-0 win at our ground. And that to beat Bolton at home 4-0 was unthinkable. But I think since then, and since you got your manager, and he's been there now for a couple of years and made some really good strides. I think you've gone from strength to strength. And I guess when the fixture list come out, the Reebok was one of the first trips we looked at for a visit. Obviously, one of the biggest clubs in the division. You've got an ex-Orient player, Victor Adebayo, who come through our youth academy. So we
Really?
we all want him to do as well as he can. He obviously left the club when the Italian was at our club, and he got a decent move away at the time. But we still hold a candle for him and hope he does well. And yeah, Bolton's a bit like us, a club who over the last 10 years have had their problems, come through it out the other side and can push on. So yeah, I'd say Orient and Bolton pretty much have a decent relationship, and I'm hoping, unselfishly, you get out of the division because you will at some point. So hopefully you can get out this season, which gives us a better chance of us getting out hopefully next season or the season after.
Well, that's the way we've been looking at League One over the past couple of years, with the likes of Sunderland being in,
Yes.
Ipswich being a phenomenal side,
Yeah.
and it's nice to see them get out. And arguably one of the easier League One campaigns we've had, and we have to get out. I don't even want to think of a world where we don't get out this season. It sounds like a horrible one. So how do you see Orient sort of finishing if you the season? Do you see a comfortable mid-table finish?
I reckon so. I mean, I don't think there's going to be too much activity in the January transfer window. We've got a lot of players out of contract in the summer, so I think the summer's the pivotal point for Orient as opposed to January. But yeah, I'd say anywhere between 10th and 13th, 14th, I'd be relatively happy with. It's quite convoluted around kind of that area of the table. I think the playoffs are a bit too much to ask of us, but again, you never know. If we win the next five, I guess we could find ourselves in and around it. But I think that's probably too much of a stretch for the time being. But I reckon we're in that around that eighth to kind of 14th, around kind of that area. I guess the top 10 finish would be brilliant for the club. I'd be fairly happy with a mid-table finish. I don't think we're going to get dragged into any kind of relegation scrap. I know Cheltenham have got much better and they could get out of it, and you'd expect Reading will may be able to get out of it depending on their situation. But yeah, for us, I reckon anywhere hopefully between 10th and 13th, I'd be really happy with, and then see what happens in the summer. Obviously, some players will leave and new players will come in, and then hopefully kick on from there, and hopefully promotion playoff push next season for us.
Yeah, stabilize the ship and then look forward the season after. So, in terms of us as Bolton fans, we're travelling down to your ground. Who do we need to be watching out for? Who are the danger men for Leyton Orient at the moment? Obviously, Darren Pratley. We've got a lot of love for him, but other than Mr. Pratley,
I guess someone I don't think he played much in the game when we played you at the Reebok was a guy called Dan Adji. So we signed Dan from Crewe in the summer. He as basically Paul Smith's replacement. He had better stats than Paul Smith last season. We all had high hopes for him. He got injured in pre-season and has slowly been making his way back. And started against Cambridge United away and scored. He also scored at the weekend. A bit of a powerhouse. He can play anywhere up front on the left, right, or in the middle. At the moment, he's being played across the middle more so, and he's a real exciting player. Big, strong. He's got a great header on Saturday. Knows where the goal is. I imagine he starts. So he's been great last couple of games. I think you'd have to watch out for him. We've also got a youngster on loan from Watford called Shaq Ford, who scored actually and got an assist in the last game when we played you. And he's gone from strength to strength over the last couple of weeks. Looked a really good player. Again, he scored at the weekend and is looking really sharp and dangerous. I've got Theo Archibald, again, a player who scored a great goal. He scored our second goal when we played you, a great long range effort. He also got an assist against you, and he got two assists at the weekend. So at the moment, I'd say those three up front have given the last couple of teams we've played some real headaches with their interchange, with their movement, with the quality of delivery into the box. And Adji, I feel like Adji's got a point to prove, just coming back from his injury at 26 years old. Just new, I guess, seems to us like a new signing, even though we signed him in the summer. So we've got some good danger men up front. In midfield, we've got Idris El Mazouni on loan from Ipswich, who is more of a number four, likes to control the game. He was on the bench. This was quite one of the interesting calls when we played you away. You started on the bench, and when you raised a few eyebrows when you saw Idris on the bench, you thought, oh, that's a bit odd. Like Idris is normally like one of the first names on the team sheet, and he came on at half time and made a real difference and got injured in the second half and came off, but recovered quite swiftly. And he can marshal the midfield, and whether it's Darren Pratley or Max Sanders alongside him or Jordan Brown, that's quite a combative midfield three who will really fight for every ball, and that's what we didn't have in the first game. So I think we'll see them. And then in defence, with like I said, since we shipped the three goals against you, we seem to have really tightened up at the back, and we've got Omar Beckles and Dan Happy who can come up for corners and come up for set pieces and make themselves a bit of a nuisance and might be able to get the odd goal. So at the moment, we seem to have quite a few danger men. It's quite nice to say because it hasn't been the story all season. So going into this one, I think you'll see a confident Orient front line really going and trying to attack the Bolton defence in this one.
that's very interesting. It's mad how a month or so can sort of
Uh,
change the state of play because I think like you said, we were even after the back of two defeats, we were quietly confident that we'd defeat you at our place. So yeah. So how do you see it going? Could you give us a sort of a bit of a summary of how you see it going and a score prediction as well?
oh, it's always a tough one to score prediction. I'm always that guy who goes, I don't really want predict my own team to win just in case we don't. So I
Oh,
think
trust me, I do it on the radio as well, and it always goes wrong. So.
I reckon. Do you know what? It wouldn't surprise me if we were to take an early lead. I think we've got it in us to take an early lead, but I think gradually, as the game goes on, I expect Bolton to come into it a bit more. So I reckon this one could be a 1-1 draw. I would say maybe sitting on the fence a bit, but I reckon we'll start like a house on fire. I think there'll be a large crowd there. It's looking like a sellout. So I know Bolton have sold out their away end, which is only like 1,100, 1,200. The home tickets are all pretty much sold out. So it'd be a great atmosphere. We'll be right behind the team. I think we'll carry the team in the first half, but I think Bolton will get stronger. I think the quality of the subs maybe might see Bolton get into it. So I reckon we might see a 1-1. As long as we're not 3-0 down in the first 10 minutes, mate, it can't be as bad as last time, right?
Seems like that doesn't matter really, doesn't it? We just we decided not to play for like 80% of the game. But I'll give my prediction as well, completely off the cuff. We've played a lot of football. We've played a lot of football. We've been in the FA Cup. We've been in
Yes. Yeah.
the FL Trophy, and I think we're quite leggy at the minute. I will go for a 1-0 victory, and I don't think it'll be an easy one. But we can win ugly now, and I think that's the difference with Bolton last year, who just wanted to play glossy champagne football. So I'll back us to get the 3 points.
Yeah, I mean that's something that we done really well last season. Is that it wasn't always champagne football. In half the games, it was anything but. But when you can see out those 1-0 games, they're the kind of games that will get you promotion as opposed to the playoffs. So, we wish Bolton all the best for the future. Obviously, we were really sad to see the news on Saturday. We had a similar fatality earlier in the season at the club in our home fixture to Lincoln. So we know how difficult it is for a club to move forward after that because football was always moving and rotating round. So I guess on behalf of all the Orient fans and Bolton fans, or to the Bolton fans, we just want to send our condolences on that one because we've been there and it wasn't a nice week or so. And yeah, wish your club like all the best for the future as well. And yeah, like I said, I hope you do get out of the division because from a selfish perspective, if Bolton are out of the division, then it's a big club gone and easier for us to get through it.
I have to second that. Yeah, and it's been a strange week. I was at the game where it all happened,
All
and
right.
you almost feel it feels strange carrying on. Like we put a lot of tribute into him and on the Luton game on last night, and you have to carry on, but you also don't want to forget it. So it is
Yeah.
difficult. But yeah, I appreciate that. Well, Steve, thank you very much. Before we go, can you tell us where we can find your podcast, where we can see your content?
Yeah, so we are on all podcasting platforms, so Spotify, iTunes, SoundCloud, and the main links that we send out. And you can find the Orient Outlook podcast on all social media channels. So we're on Twitter at Orient Outlook. We are on Instagram at Orient_Outlook_podcast, and we are on Facebook at Orient Outlook podcast. So we do like a prediction league before every match. So if anyone wants to get involved in that, look at our Twitter feed from midday on Saturday and come and predict the score, have a bit of fun. You might also see some outrageous scoring predictions for some Orient fans, and we also do a Twitter poll as well to get the gauge of how the club is feeling, the club's fan base are feeling. They normally get around anywhere between 300 to 500 votes. So again, if anyone listening wants to come and vote and get involved, please feel free to do so. It's open to all fans on our social media accounts.
Well, thank you very much, Steve, and good luck for the season, apart from Saturday, as they say. Thank you very much, and have a good evening.
Yeah, likewise. Cheers, Ryan.
Cheers.